What is up, guys? Welcome to the training edition of the content that you are getting from us at the moment. Oscar's with me. For those of you that have followed the brand, you'll all know who Oscar is. And for those of you that don't, Oscar and I first started working together in like a client coach capacity in like late 2013, early 2014, around about then. He was skinny. Literally, like that's the only way to describe it. Very, very skinny. We started off in men's physique, worked our way through that, then went to, what do we even call that class? Muscle model.
Muscular physique.
Muscle model, went to that. Then actually went to bodybuilding. You won an overall in your first bodybuilding show?
Yeah.
That was sick. Then, that was with PCA. Then went after IFBB Pro qualifiers, did 1 or 2 years of that before you went. Then
no, I only did. I did Portugal first.
Yeah.
When I was ill, and then the second crack at it.
So that was the 1 year. Then we went again the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So only took a couple of years of pro card chasing, then picked up his pro card in the IFBB, and then now we're looking at pro debut in 4 weeks' time.
Indeed.
So that's been over 8 years, 9 years that we've done that, and you've gained 40 kilos?
Easily 40 kilos, yeah.
Not bad. So, and obviously now we don't have a coach, although I do still coach Oscar. It's not coach client, that's not what we call it anymore. We're way more than that. So, super excited for this one. Because you guys, I don't coach anymore. I know a lot of you have been messaging me for coaching, and I'm sorry, just right now, it's not something that I have the time to do, because I can't give you, if I took money off you, I then would need to provide a service. I can't do it, so that's why I'm not taking money off people. I can't stand coaches that do that they just take the money, and it's so rife now, isn't it? It's crazy, the amount of coaches that are taking money off people, and they're just not even replying. It's unbelievable. So if you're one of those coaches, don't do that. Just scale back on your clients. I understand, like we all understand that we were all there at one point during like a coaching period, and I suppose it gets the same role in every job once you start to get high in demand. But instead of doing that, simply up your prices and keep your clients small. And then if you come into a situation where you up your prices but you're still able to keep taking on the same number or increase your number, up your prices again. Up your prices until you hit a ceiling where then people don't keep coming for your service. And if they do keep coming for your service, honestly, up your price again. It's allowed. Like that will then keep the quality of your service so high. And then you don't have to keep taking on more and more people to hit maybe your financial goals that you have. We've gone off topic a little bit, but it's important because we're there. Because I see this so much at the moment. I keep getting feedback of so-and-so's dropping the ball with his coaching, and I'm like, man, what are you guys doing? Like, just charge more. It's really simple, okay? And you can fix all that. But like I was saying, the very small group that I do coach still are all just my closest friends. So it's still a lot of fun for me in that sense to still be involved in the coaching aspect. So yeah, we're 4 weeks out. You're now under 100 kilos in body weight. Last showing where you turned pro, you were 94 kilos, but you got more muscle this time. So we got 4 weeks to take the last bits off. I have no idea what you'll finish body weight at the end. Maybe close to 94 again, but just in even crazier condition. Yeah, that's the goal. And then we'll see how that fares. So we're in Romania for that one, guys. So if you're in Romania, come say hello, because we'll be there. That'll be good. We're going to hit pull today, and we're going to do this in the exact same setup that I described in the how to set up pull video. So I thought that this would be then a good way to put a visual on that description. So we're going to start with the stiff leg, which is the stiff leg your favourite pull from the floor?
Yeah.
Because you've worked through all of the pulls as well.
I've worked through all of the pulls. I've worked through a stiff leg, I've worked through an RDL, I've worked through a deadlift, so, it's all been raised.
Yeah, you just were. So for those of you that again haven't seen pictures of Oscar's back, go and have a look at it. And this reinforces the point that I was saying the other day, that if you're a good puller from the floor, your back looks a certain way. Oscar's back is absolutely absurd. And that when he was turning around in those shows that he did before, it was just, the difference was just huge from behind. So the pull from the floor is so important for getting a back that just doesn't look like anyone else's. There's only ever been one outlier to that, and that actually was Corinne. Corinne was a monster puller from the floor, and her back just decided it just didn't really care. I don't know how that happened, but hey, this is Corinne, so I think her glutes just did all the work. So it didn't really transfer into her back. She had a very good back, but it didn't look visually like how ours looked. Whereas then, like, an example of a female that I can think of is Evie Ryan, who does have that back that looks like she pulls from the floor, but actually she doesn't. Like, that's just one of those examples. Her physique's unbelievable, but like that's what that pulling from the floor will usually create that kind of look. So it's interesting how, I don't know, Corinne was just an outlier, but for the rest of us, pulling from the floor works, and it's all built as a back that looks like we pull from the floor. So that's why I think that you need a day that focuses pulling from the floor, because again, you hammered density day a lot. That split was huge for you.
It was big, and it played a huge role on how I look, mostly from the back, and that's heel to shoulder.
Yeah.
So
do your density day split, guys. If you're going to do split body part routine, consider the density day. Right, we're going to rattle through this, and we'll just talk as we go, guys. We had a party at mine last night, which was kind of to celebrate my birthday, but more just to get everyone together. It was really good fun. I ate way too much cake, which I'm suffering for a little bit now, but we'll use the cake as fuel. Straight after this session, and then I've got a jiu-jitsu session, and I need to move and work as hard as I can in this one and get a sweat on, so I am more ready to roll. Because for those of you that do jiu-jitsu, post-eating lots and lots of cake is not the one. It's not. You don't want to go into jiu-jitsu sessions feeling that way. So that's why I was like, right, I'm going to train hard first to get my body, to get it out of my system. Guys, I don't think I've ever said this before, but I'll give you a little tip on how I warm up when I pull. So, in the initial jumps, I jump a little more over a plate where the weight's still light. What this allows me to do is, as I get closer to work set, I can then lower the jumps to below a plate. So I get closer to my working weight, and I start to have slightly smaller jumps where the weight all of a sudden then feels lighter as I move towards my working set. This has always worked really, really well for me. So how I warmed up today was like 1 plate and a 2.5, then 2 plates and a 5, then 3 plates and a 7.5. Then the next one will then should be 4 plates and a 7.5, so I won't go up more than just 1 plate. Then the next jump after that will then be like 5 and a 5, so then I'll come down and it'll be less than a full plate. So that last jump is always then less than a full plate. That's worked really, really well for me. So give that one a go if you're a decent puller, or even if you're not. And it'll just be a good way to approach warm-up. So slightly bigger jumps and slightly smaller jumps. And again, with our pull form, we're just taking out the leg drive. So it's high hips, no knee travel. And it's as simple as that. And then we just rip it off the floor. And the reason why we don't control the eccentric, because I'm sure some of you will ask, is because in 2 sleeps time, we have legs. Our goal is not to create glute ham damage. Our create is to bend over with really heavy weight and move it from A to B. And when you do that, you will have really, really, really crazy erectors. You're going to literally put your hand into your back. Okay, so that's the goal of this movement.
You get when you train with a coach or someone who's generally better than you. You have to bring your best. Someone who's stronger than you. Someone who inspires you. Someone who believes you. It brings out your best and nothing less.
Let's move on. Okay guys, so that's lower back loading done. That's all it is. Like I said in the how to set up pull video, 2 sets max. Sometimes you only need 1. With Oscar being less than 4 weeks out, and me about to roll into another session straight after this. 1 set's great. On days where you're flying, 2 sets might be on. So adjust that accordingly. So now we're going to focus on training the lat in a fully shortened position. It was Church's remix. Yeah, I'll send it back. through how my head's gonna work here. So obviously I'm way down on my peak strength. It just is what it is. So I don't compare now to that. But basically, because I changed directions in January, so we're now 10 months into this, and I've lost the majority of the mass and strength that I'm going to have lost in that initial phase. That's fine, but from here, I've kind of drawn a line under that now, and now everything going forward is like it's all-time PBs again in my head. So that there was 5 plates and a 2.5 aside. Also for the American guys watching, like 5 plates and a quarter. No, it's not a quarter, it'd be like an 8. I don't know what you guys, do you guys have a 5-pound plate? Basically that. 5 plates and that aside. So in my head now, that next session when I come back in, I know I'm gonna just 0.5 that. And I know that I could take 5 and a 3 kilo aside for 8, maybe on a freak day that's there 9. Didn't fancy going for that today. It just probably wasn't there. Would have been a real grinder, which I'm happy not to do on days where, again, I've got to go and train after this. So, like, if all I had to do was just this today, then fuck it, I'd have gone for the 9th and I'd have buried myself on it. But my training's slightly different now in that sense. But I know over the weeks I've had to creep that to like 5 and a 5 total for then probably 9, because I'll get, every now and again I'll get a rep, but I'll keep biscuiting up. And then what I'll do is I'll drop that 5 kilos off back to 5 plates, and then I'll just all of a sudden get 5 plates for 10. And then I'll start to creep at 0.5 again, and then I'll steal 11. And then I'll do this until I drive all the way back up to like 5 plates for 14 or 15. It'll take me ages, that'll take me a year to do, but that's doable. I can get that back to 5 plates for 15 from this spot here. And all you guys have got to do the same. And the only kind of situation in my head personally why that's probably going to be a bit of a dilemma is because I do actually need to drop some more muscle just to be better at the other stuff I'm doing. But from a health perspective, I'm totally fine to stay this size because I'm fit, I'm happy, like everything's good. But it then might just contradict my other goals if I don't drop any more muscle. That won't build any new muscle for me because it's not a novel stimulus on anything I've done before. But it's goals to come in with, and I just wanted to talk you through how I focus on those lift progressions over a period of time. And that's literally all I did was to get that stiff leg pull. Like my best stiff leg was 7 plates for 3. That was my best stiff leg. Or was it 7 and a bit for 3? But then because of the extras on those plates, it worked out as 310 kilos for 3 was my best stiff leg. But there are some lads out there that are beating that stiff leg now. There are a handful of lads that can do better pulls, but it's certainly a lift that I think that everyone should be prioritising to build a really damn good back. If you can get that up to 6 plates for any reps, honestly, your back is going to show it. Anyone that can stiff leg 6 plates for reps, I promise you've got a really damn good back. So guys, that was absolute textbook execution, because you can see that Oscar's structure wasn't changing, so he wasn't rocking back and forth, and he was getting a full deep lat contraction whilst maintaining that structure, so he wasn't shifting it onto his upper back. So with execution for this, where the goal is to build really tremendous lats, totally emulate that form. Like mine has slipped from that a little now, which I'm letting it, just because I want to try to be as strong as I can and as explosive as I can, while still having lat focus. But in terms of like, when my goal was focused entirely on muscularity, that execution was the one, which is again why I wanted Oscar to go first, so you guys could see that, and then again kind of take mine with a pinch of salt, because my goals are different. On the last session I had this pinned 125 for 4 reps. So the goal today, I know I can get extra biscuits on there. Right, the moment that I now then think that that can't progress, what I'll do is I'll pull them off and then take a rep progression. Like I won't get a rep progression at the moment because the reps are low. This is a 4 rep set. So for now it's just going to be biscuiting until I run into a wall. And instead of then letting the reps drop, I'll pull the biscuits and then shoot for an extra rep again and restart that build process then with 5. And then I'll re-add the biscuits until I do the same thing. And then I get it to 6. You guys should have just been able to see a very small adjustment of form there. It's not crazy, I'm not like chucking the weight around like a dickhead, but there is certainly an adjustment when you are super focused on superb internal stimulus, which I think is important for the lats. And that's why Oscar does that, because he knows that. Because when we were trying to grow big lats, like he still is, that was a big thing that we hammered, was that lat contraction on that first movement. Get it fucking short. Again, this was something that Dorian was so ahead of the curve on. And Dorian's lats, mind-blowing. Okay, so next set, no holds in the short.
Okay. Just trying to get there.
So guys, one of the things that we would employ, and again Oscar and Kuba still does this, and I mentioned it more on the laterals, was that on those early sets, when you have the oomph to get the muscle short, exaggerate the pause. So one of the things that we would do is we would have, like on set 1, it'd be like a 2-second pause, and then set 2, it would only drop to a 1-second pause, and then like the third set would then be like a 0 pause. So it works very well. So guys, again with this, I go into rep ranges that you don't need to do. This is a treble for me, not necessary for lat work. Don't do it unless your goal is just to get as strong as you can when you're in my situation. Like for lat development, it's just a waste of time. It's just, yeah, no need. Just constantly remember, on my videos that I'm doing at the moment, my goals are different. All of my rep ranges are low. I just want to be as strong as I can, and because like my recovery is down and I'm on TRT now, if I don't entirely focus on it, then I'm not going to be able to stay strong as I keep getting lighter. So that's why I'm training solely for strength. So that was like right at the limit of what I would be acceptable with, because I couldn't really get that fully short. And again, that's because the ability, the strength discrepancy from here to here on the lat is massive. Okay, so this kind of reinforces why, as you get deeper into a session, to train the lat effectively, you need something then that drops off here, otherwise it's a waste of time. Very nice. My 3 sets looked over this would be a 4 and then a 3, and then I'll go down now and just get a 6. So how Oscar's looked was like an 8, and then he went up in weight because it was there, took a 4. Would have maybe been more if he didn't do a 2-second pause in the short, and then the last set, how many reps was that? 12, perfect. So that's kind of like the rep ranges that we typically would like to be working in when we're just looking for perfect stimulation. So what you've got there is a load and a back off, but then an additional heavier set in that same setting like I explained in legs. When it's there, take it, okay? That's lats done. Now we'll do upper back. Again, something that biases the short. So our quickest option is the seated cable row. When we hop on upper back after doing lats, we don't need to do anywhere near as much warming up. I know it's for a different exercise, a different muscle group, but we're super warm from pulls and lats. Pulls, there was a lot of warming up. Lats, again, there's a lot of warming up. But once those two movements are we're good, we can then rattle through. For me, with this, like sometimes when I'm flying, I don't even warm up. I just go straight in. But it depends on the day. And it depends how kind of like strong and explosive and good I feel. In general, I actually don't feel that at all anymore. Like I don't feel like superhuman strong like I used to feel, because that's how I used to feel. I used to feel like I could get hold of anything and just explode into it and rag it around. Whereas that's gone now for me. I just don't have that anymore. I miss it because it was pretty fun. But so now I might do one warm-up set. Yeah, that's definitely the difference I've noticed, that being on like a less than legit TRT dose is I don't have that same just level of crazy explosive power that I used to have. It's still pretty good, like, but it's not what it was. Like even when I was warming up on that set today, I like picked up the 4-plate stiff leg, and I was like, why does that feel heavy? Like, in what world does a 4-plate stiff leg feel heavy? It's like, okay, this world now. So I remember at my absolute strongest, I could do the whole stack for like 25 reps, something like that. I can only do it for like 8 now. So sad times, guys, sad times. But it is what it is. I say sad times. I am actually really alright with it. I really don't care. I'm quite lucky with that. And I think for me, that's because I just have an entirely different pursuit now, which I'm enjoying a lot. Frustrating the life out of me too, because it's really, really hard. And I want to be a lot better than I am. But it definitely means that the difference between me doing this stack for 8 or 24, it's neither here nor there if I'm going to be any good at what I'm doing now. So that's my warm-up, that's it. 1 rep, feel it, and then yeah, I'm going to go heavier and I'm going to load, and then I might do that as my backup. Good upper back contraction. Great set. So guys, on this, just 2 sets, and the reason for that is because even though again it's a different exercise, the shortening aspect on this piece is then hard. You saw that last rep was real hard to get short, and that's because like we've done 3 sets of stuff that already is really hard to get short. So then once you then are on pieces that are still biased to short, it's very, very, very hard. So if this was a machine that we could adjust, if we were on the prime, we could do as many sets as we want. We could do all our upper back volume on it. Literally the reason we didn't jump on it, and honestly, I couldn't be asked to load the plates on it. That's just the reason. Like, so when I do that for my first set, I do like 9 plates on the middle peg. I couldn't be bothered today. Whereas this, Oscar's already done a work set. So sometimes that will determine my exercise selection. It's as honest as that. Like, and I tell you now, all of the guys that are decent and strong will say the same thing, because I can't be bothered to load 9 plates onto that. I just can't. I just want to get honest and just work. So that could be another reason for your exercise selection. How little things you need to load onto a machine. I will add to that. I would do that if I had to, in the sense that I needed to overload the lengthened. Like I'm using this because it is a legit option, because we do still have strength in that shortened range. If this was the end of the session, we wouldn't be on this, and then I would just put weight on it. well, actually, to be honest, again, I wouldn't. I'd get Corin to help me. But Corin loves it. You know, the more moving Corin does, it makes her happy, genuinely. So for those of you that aren't aware, Corin just likes to move. As much energy as she can burn, like, yeah, that's Corin's deal. So guys, from a form perspective, I'm going to try to lock in as much as I can. I'm going to try to really initiate with my upper back. I'm going to try to keep the lower back momentum out of the movement. Like, again, my form is a little touch and go on this now, just because I'm not afraid to put a little bit of explosion and momentum into it. But for those of you that are really focusing on good upper back development, try to stay locked in. And then my advice for you, for those of you that have subpar upper back development, get on a chest supported T-bar and keep your chest glued to the pad. And then as you are aware of how to recruit those muscles, you get more wiggle room in being able to loosen your form and stay connected with that internal stimulus. So you'll see a lot of the really, really, really big boys, Ronnie, Branch, Dorian on his rows a little bit as well, they're putting momentum into those upper back movements. But again, you aren't those boys. So in the early phases, learn to contract those muscles properly, and then you'll notice, okay, as I put a little bit of momentum in, I can still get a really good contraction. Like some cable stacks have a more even resistance profile, specifically to the upper back, because the upper back isn't crazy hard to shorten like the lat is. Like just from the structure of the lat is hard as hell to get short. The upper back's kind of easier. I think that's because you can throw a bit more momentum into the upper back too. Yes. I think that probably lends itself to why you can find yourself shortened, because you've generated enough force that then all of a sudden you found yourself here. But this cable piece in particular is actually pretty hard to get short.
I think what you've touched on that is more important is at what point you stay locked in for upper back, and at what point allows you a bit of momentum.
I do, definitely. But like the problem is then guys will take that too far and they'll stay locked in for forever.
Yes.
And then you'll never have a fucking back.
Yeah.
Like, because you're not moving weight. Like, I can't stress this enough, and James and I touched on this in one of our videos when we did that bent over T-bar, because we did it instead of with deadlifting, and what we said was, that's a bending over holding weight exercise. And we all have these really, well, I don't anymore, but I used to have a really cool back like these boys did, because we just got really good at bending over holding weight, okay? And that is the key. Bend over and hold weight. You cannot be forever stuck in perfect contraction phases. This is why I'm a little bit, like, don't get me wrong, I love the execution phase and I think it's important, but when it then goes too far and it's really light weights on the single arm pull downs, and it's just these forever squeezes, and it's just this big stretch, this big squeeze, if you're overcooking it, it's gonna hold you back. Kuba has a phenomenal balance of it, and you do too, both of you boys do, you have a phenomenal balance of it. And that's because if I spotted either of them doing bullshit that was too much, I'd call them on it. But they're really good. So again, check both their content because they're big on that accuracy, but still driving forward that loading. Last time, guys, I did this for 8, so biscuit goes on, and that's still how I'm going to forever lift. I'm going to try to keep moving forward, because if you're coming into the gym and you don't have goals to move forward, what are you doing? Progress is everything, everything. This will be hard to get short. I'm gonna still have tons of strength here, and I know when I get to that 8th rep, I'm gonna really struggle back here. And again, that's an indication that to keep that stimulus effective, that too much work on pieces that have that resistance profile is going to limit you. And again, if you go back to my 2017 videos in strength, where all I had access to was hammer strength pieces, I then had to work out how to get what I needed from my sessions, but adjust my resistance profiles. And again, this is where the load and the back offset was born. It was forced out of a necessity. 9-ish, 9 for scrapping. Right, we'll take it. Right, so that's, now we need to move on to training something on the lat that drops off in the lengthened position. So, yeah, the ideal now really is going to be something that trains it in the horizontal, because we train the lat in the vertical. So then now, if we're going to get, yeah, so there's that. You explain, I can't breathe.
So there's the fully lengthening, training the lat in this position, you know what I mean, which when we put at the start of the session, then it's easier to get a shot. We will then finish with that and fully exhaust that at this moment we're going to train the lat in a horizontal session, where then as we will still shorten it, but it'll drop off. So here's where accommodating resistance will still come in. But obviously we need to train the lat in this position and in this position, because we can fully lengthen the lat from that position and we can fully lengthen the lat from this position. So from an aspect of taking everything off the table, training the lat, then it becomes important. Now we have to realize at what point of the session we're in now and respect what we've already done. And here's where working horizontally in a machine that drops off in a shot becomes very, very important. And I'm looking forward to this piece of kit. It's an amazing piece of kit.
So guys, I would say of the approaches, this is probably my second favourite. I'd probably rather do a gym shot single armed, but like I've got to wrap this session up in like the rest of this in like 25 minutes. So then this is going to be a dual armed piece, just literally to speed things up. This is still a great variation, but I think having the gym shot variation where you have the handle to adjust your arm path, and also allows you flexibility with your elbow path, means you can really nail that lat in that position. So, but we can still get a good job on this as well. The plus though of this machine is that you have more adjusting the resistance profile. The gym shot has only a resistance profile of 1 setting, but it does drop off a ton in the short. This, I'm just checking my setup. I keep my hips shifted back slightly, and this one, my chest stays connected. I feel like when you've got a chest pad and you're trying to train the lat, don't come off the chest pad. You're gonna miss the lat. Use the chest pad with the lat. When you're trying to train the upper back, it's fine. Get your hips under the pad. When you're trying to train your lat, like, think about externally rotating your hips back. So, I'm here. See the shift? So upper back I would be here, lat, I am here. And I'm just driving that elbow down slightly. Not like crazy down, to the point where you lose power, but I'm thinking more about driving down than I am retracting my scapula. And the hip shift back and the chest pad connection will reinforce that, because it's very hard in that position there to then, when you have a slight downward elbow, to then even retract the scapula at all. Because whereas in this position, it's really easy. The scapula can glide. So make those small tweaks. Sets of total lat work, which is actually one more than Oscar normally does. Normally only does 4. But 4 or 5 sets for lats, that's okay. Like if you do one more every now and again, like you do the heavier 4, that's fine. It's because I thought his first set was really great. So I was like, right, let's take something a bit heavier, let's just feel it. Like if it wasn't Oscar and knowing how robust he is in a prep, typically would never add that additional work in a prep. I will add that. But as well, the other thing is that a session never takes as much away from you when you aren't chasing logbook numbers.
Yes.
So it's like the volume doesn't equate.
It doesn't equate.
No, it's because it's almost like a devolume session.
100%.
Because you're not chasing. So that's also a really important thing to add.
Yeah.
So if we were in his gym chasing his numbers, we wouldn't be doing my plan. We'd be doing his plan, and then I'd be following him around.
Yeah. From 0 to 100 real quick.
Because this was a piece of kit and an exercise that I haven't done for ages, I didn't have a number for it. So I just went in at 5 plates top and just see what I got range wise. And I got 10 reps. So for this second set, I'm now actually going to go up and now do my load set second. So in this one, my rep ranges have just been flipped. And that's no problem to do that when you're trying to establish your rep ranges. What it just means then is that the next session, if I did repeat this movement, I would start with the 6 plate and then go back down to the 5 plate. I do always prefer, when I'm feeling good, to do the heavier set first. You'll know if you're watching any of my stuff, if I'm feeling iffy or sore or injury risk, and that's when I do a lighter set first. Typically for me on leg compound work, the lighter stuff will always be first, and then I'll slowly get heavier. That's always been the case in the last maybe 3 years of my leg work.
I haven't been able to do a heavy set first. My knees just can't do it. It's just if you can, great. Pick your rep ranges in order that you need to. But for me, on those, it would always need to be lighter set first.
One thing like Jordan touched on, that walking that fine line between execution and shifting a heavy weight. So if there's one thing I really used to be very, very tight on the upper back and you know, just focus on moving it perfectly. Whereas obviously time ago trained with Jordan, it was on the piece of kit we just done, and the importance of then tucking your hip in all the way in and using this as a reference point, using it to create more stability, and then just staying locked and really focusing on scapular retraction. Like one of the things I've learned that again is just helped me really step forward in terms of my posterior.
Get on. Get on. Get it. Come on, keep back. Sure. Just as Oscar mentioned, chest stays up, slight lean back, hips under, upper back. This is a must now to have something that drops off. It would be totally shit to jump on a normal pull down and try and finish the upper back. You'd have to use a load that you could get short, which would be light, and that means then at the length end, you're still only using that same load because it's just one machine, and then you're not training the muscle through its whole potential. And then again, if you don't have access to one of these, have someone do those couple 4 reps with you, where you'll pull down as far as you can based on a load in the length end, and then you have just someone else help you finish it off in the short end. In that situation, that's not the same as doing a normal 4th rep. It's because of resistance profiles. So that's different.
Oh yes. And you see how the scapula glides. Oh yes. Yes.
Yeah, I would. So guys, last set for me. I'll go up again in weight because I hadn't done this for a little bit. So my last one was more reps than I would have wanted to have done. But what I've done now is I have 8 25 plates on the top, but then I took a 5 kilo off the middle just because, again, I'll notice that it's just a little bit harder to get short, which I don't have anymore, and that's not the goal of this exercise. The goal of this exercise is to overload in the length. So guys, if I'd have kept that extra 5 kilos on the middle, I wouldn't have got that short. So that adjustment there was perfect. So great job done. That's 5 sets of lat work, 4 sets of upper back work, and then what would be done now is, like I said in the pull video, you'd bias your rear delts or traps first or second based on their priority. It's going to vary from person to person. My preference would be a rear delt row, and then again, any shrug variation, just anything where there's a slight retraction in shoulders, and just go through full range, and you're going to get great trap development from that. And then depending on whether you have biceps in this split, just a pull day, there'll be a couple of sets of biceps. If maybe biceps go elsewhere, because Oscar has a specific arm day now, so his split's different. So, do you have any bicep touch-up working back at all?
No.
So your setup's gonna totally depend. Do you have any rear delt working back?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. Should we do? We can finish with a couple of sets of rear delts to finish off.
Yeah.
Sweet. So we'll do literally just rear delts to finish, and then that's job done, guys.
I actually do rear delts twice. I do it on back day and in the arm and delt day, because that's just my needs really, isn't it? Yeah.
What we'll do is we'll finish with the rear delt row as well, which I talked about in the pull session as being my absolute preference when it comes to a rear delt exercise. 2 adjustments with the rear delt row. The seat is lower and the arm path is less tight to the lat. And again, like I explained in the other video, it's not all the way flared, it's at the upper back, it's kind of an in-between. So lat, rear delt, upper back. We're using the prime because even though we haven't directly trained the rear delt, you're not gonna have much oomph there now. So you want something that drops off to allow you to drive those elbows basically behind you so you can get that full rear delt contraction. There we go. Yeah, good. Nice. I'll go on.